Good afternoon, everyone. This is meteorologist Ted Keller. I'm looking at the weather situation unfolding here this afternoon. Even as I record this, which is about 5 minutes after 1, I see the sun is breaking through the low clouds here in Springfield, and that actually is a factor. If the clouds can break and thin a little bit, which I think the tendency is for that to happen in a very brief window here in the afternoon, that will up the probability of more severe storms right around the Springfield metro area. Although, having said that, we are solidly in a risk of severe weather today. What I think Springfield's going to look at is mainly large hail, inch and a half in diameter, maybe a little more in some of the more robust updrafts in the center of some of the bigger storms. But again, there's the smaller details as to whether let's say, the tornado threat shifts from where it is now, which is more south of Springfield, to closer to the city. It greatly kind of depends on what happens here over the next couple of hours, so I'll be keeping an eye on that. The very first thing you're looking at here is something, of course, I check on a daily basis, and that's the Storm Prediction Center's official outlook for the area. And so this right here just represents an enhanced risk of severe thunderstorms. So it goes from green to yellow to kind of an orange color. So that's the third level basically on the scale. And you can see that scale is down here. So on the severe weather side, let me just erase that. We're talking about just these five right here, because the first one is just ordinary thunderstorms. So it goes, 1, 2, 3. So that's a third out of 5 risk level in terms of percentages of something actually happening in the Ozarks. But we can dive in a little bit deeper on this. So this is the tornado probability. This is a little bit different. And you'll notice Springfield is located right about here. So we're on the edge of a 5% tornado probability. The percentages mean simply that if you take wherever you live and draw a circle, 25-mile diameter, that's the probability of a tornado occurring within that 25-mile radius area. Okay, so and I was just talking to one of my family members, my daughter, about this, and said that doesn't seem like a very high probability, and it isn't. But all you need is one tornado, so it's just a relative scale, and I've seen that go as high as 30-some%, almost 40%. That's not one of these. The hatched area, by the way, that you see down there in northern Arkansas, that is a higher probability of stronger than normal storms. So in other words, that storms that are a certain rating or higher, EF3 or 4 or 5, or have longer tracks, are slightly more, the probability is slightly higher in that hatched area. So again, all that's in northern Arkansas, with maybe some of that getting into south central Missouri later on tonight, south of West Plains, those areas out there. So that's the specifics. And if you want to look at wind damage, that's pretty uniform. And then hail, again, is pretty good. So large hail in the hatched area is pretty significant. And we in Springfield are in that 30% hatched area for significant hail as well. Hail probability legend. So you're talking about 2-inch diameter hail within 25 miles of a point. So there you have about a 30% chance of that happening, where you see that hatched area. And the red area is 30%. I'm sorry, the hatched area is significant hail. So anyway, you can just look at these parameters all you want. And so this has really evolved this week. This was kind of a dual thing earlier in the week. There was supposed to be a risk area up in Illinois and one down here. And now we've split the difference, and it's come a lot closer to the Ozarks. And that's welcome to weather forecasting. Anyway, let's take a look at what's happening right now. This is the radar. I'm going to kind of put that into motion here. The yellow shading area is a severe thunderstorm watch that was hoisted for parts of Oklahoma. Make sure I'm right on that. I think it's a severe thunderstorm watch. Let me just look here. I can look. Let's see. Current watches. There we go. No, I'm sorry. That's a tornado watch. I just have a color yellow on here. Yeah, this is a tornado watch, this yellow area here. So we're not quite in it yet. But you'll notice some storms have been pretty active throughout the day. I'm going to loop this. I think I can loop this. Let's see here. Is it just seeing there we go. What you're seeing is lightning overlaid on top of this. So this is Tulsa right here. This is the Tulsa area. And so some of these thunderstorms have been quite active, including a tornado warning or two. You see the red boxes that have been showing up down here. Again, this is still well displaced, but all this is sliding up toward us. So that's why I made the comment earlier that, whatever happens to skies here is going to have an impact, because all these storms are going to be feeding air that is developing and cooking, if you will, right in that area. So that's what I'm watching today, and we're going to take a look at the satellite in a minute. But there's already been some large hail reports on some of these. I see one of these. Let me get to the very end here of this. And I thought there's a 2-inch hail. There's a 2.21 right there. You probably can't see that at home, But this little triangle right here is a 2-inch plus hail symbol, and there have been some up at that magnitude earlier. So large hail is, again, about 30% probability within a 25-mile circle of wherever you live across Springfield, and especially areas south of Springfield are kind of under the gun. So let's take a look now. I want to take a look at, well, I want to take a look at the satellite image, but we'll come back to that in a minute to see if there's any clearing. But this is just as good. This is model data, and let me just get my bearings on this one. So what we're looking at here is just the latest models and what they're showing. So let me get my settings here to find the very latest run of that, which is probably going to be close to what I have already. Yeah, there's a noon run, so that'll be good enough. Okay, so what this is showing here is composite reflectivity. So this is just a simulated reflectivity of what the models think is going to happen. And this is a real popular product to show online. It can be pretty accurate. It can also be way off. This thing is pretty spot on because what it's showing right here is a forecast for where we showed you those live thunderstorms just now. And this forecast is supposed to be valid at about 2 o'clock, so we're only about an hour off. So this seems to be doing pretty well with the forecast. Let's move along here and see what else we can find. Move this to, let's say, about here. Now this is the look at 21Z. This is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll notice there's a large area of thunderstorms, and it's going into this area of hopefully, of probably. If it's clouded over, that lessens the chance of severe thunderstorms for us. If it ends up getting kind of sunny out ahead of this, then the probability is a little bit greater. I also want to point out these little tracks right here, these black little tracks you're seeing, like one right there and one right there. Those are helicity updrafts. So I'll boil this down for you. When you see the tracks, it's just a better chance that you have a supercell thunderstorm where the entire thing from the bottom up to about the mid-levels is managing to rotate. So that's a better indicator of large hail and of possible tornadoes, but the tornadoes are going to be very dependent on what happens to the lower part of the storm. So it's not the best guide. It's not a definite slam dunk that when you see those, you're going to see tornadoes, but it is a sign of a pretty strong supercell. So we'll go forward here a little bit more, just a little bit more, and just see what happens. And I want to show you why northern Arkansas was targeted for this a little bit more, because as you go through time here, notice that these storms that refire down here, and this is going to occur, let's see, the run time on here is about 7 p.m., so these storms down here are really going to, the winds start turning a little bit, coming more out of the southeast this time of night, so some of these supercells from Fort Smith over to north central Arkansas are going to be pretty severe. Some of these arcing out through the West Plains area could be kind of eyebrow raisers as well. So that's what we're looking at there. In terms of overall parameters and what is supported, we can change gears here and look at, well, let's look at the significant tornado parameter. This combines a bunch of things together to kind of give you a composite look. So I just want to show you what that atmosphere is looking like out ahead of these storms right here. This is what I was talking about. So while generally the significant tornado threat's not great, that green and kind of lime color are okay, but we start seeing these yellows and oranges like around St. Louis. These are very much connected individual cells, and it suggests that what the model is doing is actually picking up on just small scale features that only apply in the immediate vicinity of the actual thunderstorm, which that's just as valid. It's probably a boundary that storm is running into, and that's why it's enhanced right there. So anyway, just some insight this afternoon. Obviously, keep your eye to the sky. I would expect a watch within the next hour or so for all of southwest Missouri. Whether it ends up being a tornado watch is kind of interesting. I think they probably, if I had to guess, I would say yes, tornado watch definitely for northern Arkansas and extreme southern Missouri. Whether that bleeds up into the Springfield area or not remains to be seen. I don't actually know how they delineate that per se, but just looking at this model data, I would suggest that that's probably, Springfield will be under some sort of watch here within the hour. This is being recorded about 1:14 and probably won't get to your eyes till about 1:20 or 1:25. Anyway, I always had to make the disclaimer that that's when this was recorded, so don't look at this at 7 o'clock tonight and expect it to be that accurate. And I probably will do another one this afternoon. It really kind of depends on how things unfold. So keep an eye to the sky, and we'll talk to you soon.